This is ecoTricity's ecoTEC Roundup show from Aotearoa's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to electric vehicles in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup in the world of clean cars and green energy. Thanks for joining me. Tesla has received its official certificate of conformity from the US Environmental Protection Agency, which was needed for it to be allowed to sell its Tesla Semi in the US. The news was broken early this week by AeroHT, which had asked the government agency if Tesla had been granted the document, and the EPA responded in the affirmative. Just as passenger cars need to get specific paperwork before they can be sold in the US, all heavy-duty trucks must receive the certificate of conformity before they can be sold, delivered and registered for use in the US. This paperwork, as the name suggests, confirms that the vehicle in question meets all emissions and efficiency requirements. Given the all-electric drivetrain of the Semi, gaining this was a given, but it now means deliveries can start, with Pepsi due to get the first Tesla Semis on December 1st. Last week, several of you commented that we only cover Tesla financials, something that technically hasn't been true for a few months, and today we've got Ford and GM financials to share. Ford first. It reported a third quarter revenue of $39.4 billion, 10% up on the previous quarter. However, despite improving revenues, it posted an $827 million loss, equivalent to an adjusted 66 cents per share. Quote, a result of special items, end quote, was blamed. What are those special circumstances? A decision by the automaker to close the Argo AI subsidiary it had ploughed money into for some time, with the hope that Argo would develop a full Level 4 driver assistance system. Instead, Ford has decided to invest in its own in-house tech, but switching its investment in this way resulted in a $2.7 billion pre-tax impairment. General Motors next. It also posted its quarterlies this week, showing a revenue of $41.9 billion and EV sales figures of 15,200 units. This resulted in GM seeing an adjusted earnings per share of $2.25, beating Wall Street estimates of $1.90. That is great news for GM, as is the news that it managed an 8% EV market share in the US during the third quarter, as the Bolt and Bolt EUV sales combined outsold the Ford Mustang Mach-E by more than 2-1 during September. During the earnings call, Mary Barra stated that GM is on track to meet its year-end estimates guidance, but disclosed that due to a slower ramp-up of battery cell and battery pack production, the company was revising its 400,000 annual EV production goals to 2024 from 2023. The US federal government has confirmed this week that it's awarded nearly $1 billion in funding to help school bus fleets dump the pump and go electric. Announced in a wave of different press releases midweek, the funds, earmarked by the government as part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, was split between 389 different school districts across all 50 US states, the District of Columbia, several tribal nations, and US overseas territories like Puerto Rico. Originally, the US government had earmarked $500 million for the program, but given overwhelming demand, it nearly doubled that funding to $965 million. The majority of funds will go to schools in low-income areas, with 95% of funded buses expected to be all-electric. Lucid Motors made good on its promise this week of launching several different accessories for the Lucid Air sedan, ranging from all-weather mats to a very powerful home charging station. The mats are your run-of-the-mill affair with very modest, affordable $250 price tags. Then there's a set of specially designed crossbars, enabling you to fit a variety of different luggage solutions to the roof of the car, including a bespoke air cargo capsule, as Lucid likes to call it, but we'd call it a roof box. Either way, it will set you back $2,000. But what grabbed our attention the most was a $1,200 Lucid charging station, which the company says will deliver up to 18 kilowatts of charging power to the Lucid Air and is, eventually, going to be capable of vehicle-to-grid power transfer. You will know by now, I'm sure, that we are great fans of the right to repair movement on this channel. So when Massachusetts passed groundbreaking voter-backed right to repair legislation in 2020, we had hoped good things for the automotive repair enthusiast. But some of the nitty-gritty of that legislation, namely that automakers install telematics systems that are, quote, interoperable, standardized and open access, end quote, has thrown a spanner in the works, with the Massachusetts Attorney General and two automakers, General Motors and Stellantis, stating the law would put automakers in violation of federal safety laws. The issue revolves around just how open is, with both companies arguing that there's no safe way to implement the requirements without causing cybersecurity threats, and the AG stating there's no way to fairly enforce the law. British sports car company Lotus, which is now also in the SUV game, because that's now a thing that every sports car company does, apparently, has revealed its Eletre EV. The car is, according to Lotus, a quote-unquote hyper SUV with a 2.9-second sprint time, a performance variant with nearly 900 horsepower, 662 kilowatts, and 726 pound-feet, or 984 newton-meters of torque. Unlike many prestigious marques who regularly introduce cars that start with a six-figure price tag, Lotus says the entry-level Eletre will cost under $85,000, with the range-topping R variant, complete with track mode, commanding closer to $113,000. Range is expected to be similar to that of the Chevrolet Bolt EV, but it will come from a much larger 112 kilowatt-hour pack. Sticking with quick things, Ford CEO Jim Farley, who has been coy about officially stating the sprint times of the Ford F-150 Lightning, has finally spilled the beans. This week, via Twitter, Farley confirmed that while Ford had a working target initially of 4.5 seconds for the sprint time, its latest software makes a sprint time of, quote, under 4 seconds possible if you have a Ford F-150 Lightning fitted with an extended range battery pack. For those who already own one, like me, this news isn't exactly unexpected, and I've certainly experienced a faster than 4.5 second sprint time when accelerating hard. Given that Ford also downplayed the actual maximum charging rate of the extended range Lariat, 170 kilowatts versus the quoted 150 kilowatts, I can only question what else Ford has underestimated about this truck. Tesla's full self-driving beta program and the capabilities of its Autopilot and enhanced Autopilot have helped many people who aren't EV owners come to the conclusion that Teslas are capable of full, hands-off, never-intervene self-driving, helped on by countless YouTube videos. This week, Reuters reported that some of the language used by Tesla and, by association, Elon Musk at events and online has led the US Justice Department to open an investigation into the company. According to the report, sources at the Justice Department suggest Tesla is under criminal investigation to try and ascertain if it misled customers, investors and regulators by, quote, making unsupported claims about the driver assistance technology's capabilities, end quote. Although Tesla has faced similar claims before, it initially lost a case where it was accused of misleading customers in Germany. It then had the decision overruled by a higher court. So, watch this space. The Renault Zoe, a friendly, 5-seat family subcompact that has been part of Renault's EV push now for a decade, has thousands sold in Renault markets around the world. But when Renault's first mass-market electric hatchback got a 0 out of 5-star safety rating on revised Euro NCAP crash tests, partly down to the change in standards and partly down to changes in the vehicle design for that model year, we all suspected that the end was nigh. This week, that suspicion was confirmed, with Renault's boss confirming that the Zoe will not be replaced. Given that many of Renault's new promised subcompact EVs won't arrive until 2025, this means Renault is effectively forcing subcompact buyers to go hybrid instead. Renault says that hybrid is better than gasoline and maintains it's focusing on larger electric models first. I'm honestly starting to question the point when automakers do this kind of, Before we get to the last two stories, I have a quick question for you. Are you in the market for a new electric car? Well, if you are, and you do live in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own buyer's guide at ecotricity.co.nz. It is packed with all the information you need to pick a car that's right for you and includes plenty of details about incentives you can get, charging providers you can use, and of course, how to get clean energy at home. So follow the link below and start your journey today. Rallycross legend Ken Block has been known for years for his hoonigan moniker and his gymkhanas, where he takes ridiculously powerful, race-prepared cars around specially designed urban playgrounds, seemingly peeling smoke from every orifice. For many years, Block was sponsored by Ford, but some time ago he switched to Audi, with the company promising him a specially made electric gymkhana vehicle. This week, video dropped of that very first electricana featuring said car, the Audi S1 Hoonitron. Filmed on the iconic Las Vegas Strip, the 800-volt dual-motor all-wheel drive Audi S1 Hoonitron does not disappoint, although we'd be remiss for pointing out that with all of that tyre shredding, the car may be zero tailpipe emissions, but certainly not zero particulate emissions. That said, if it gets more people buying EVs, I think we can forgive it for now. And finally, Chinese automaker XPeng has been accelerating its electric car sales and development for a number of years now, with new models popping up with increasing regularity. But at the company's 1024 Tech Day event this week, XPeng unveiled the latest prototype in its bid to bring a real flying car to market. Called the XPeng AeroHT because it's made by AeroHT, this does look like a regular car with a drone strapped to the roof, but unlike previous examples, this one actually flies. Unlike the previous computer-simulated variants, though, this one is a little rough around the edges and more cyberpunk than the Jetsons. But nevertheless, I'm curious to know if that's something you wish your car had. Or maybe, you're just like an affordable car that doesn't require you to take out a second mortgage to buy, but then maybe I'm just old-fashioned like that. And on that note, we are done for the day. Before I go though, do make sure you've hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the latest in EV news from this channel. And of course, if you haven't already switched yet, why not switch to Aotearoa's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company? It is super easy to make the switch, and you'll be helping the nation wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I'll be back with more awesome content very soon, as will the lovely Gavin Kiwi EV Shoebridge, and we'll be here this time next weekend for our usual roundup show. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Nikki Gordon Bloomfield. Kekite. See you next time.